Officer in pursuit. Suspect in custody.
Oh, there you are. Last time was fun, wasn't it? If you start googling, are humans herbivores? Oh boy, you're gonna open a can of worms. The idea of anatomically herbivorous humans is nothing but pseudoscience, and it was only known among the craziest fringe vegans up until 2017. When it goes mainstream with the plant-based documentary What the Health. And I get it. These people always look for new ways of attacking meat eaters, and obviously, with a genius plot twist, they could finally hold the ultimate weapon in the war on meat.
We can survive on a plant-based diet, eating the foods that come natural to us, eating the foods our body was designed to eat. Our body was designed to eat, designed to eat, designed to eat.
Did the brain fog kick in so hard that the meatless crowd finally lost its marbles? Or is it an elaborate scam? This is the vegan police. I'll see what you did there. How dare you! Ah! And that's how I ended up in here. Looks like I stirred up a hornet's nest. But what if I'm onto something? Should we look into it? The nitty-gritty details of their story? You know, the actual science. Especially if you think this guy is telling the truth. Then this is for you.
We are classic herbivores by design. Classic herbivores, classic herbivores, classic herbivores by design.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Ready or not, here I come. There's so much work to be done. We better get to it and have some fun. We're back to school, isn't it cool? No one's gonna make us a fool. Just open your mind, that's the only rule. Now it's time to talk about the truth. Yee-haw! What are humans designed to eat? $1 million question. No wonder the peddlers of the misinformation behind the great herbivore swindle were busy trying to prove that it must be the plants. A quick reality check will put their propaganda where it belongs.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened anytime the seatbelt light is on.
A common trick to make your story believable is cherry picking. Let me give you an example. Apes and most old world monkeys have trichromatic color vision, the ability to distinguish reds, greens and blues, which can be useful to pick the right kind of leaves and fruits when you live in the jungle. Herbivorous gorillas have trichromatic vision, but so do baboons, chimpanzees and us, thanks to our common ancestor. And we are all omnivores. Most other non-primate mammals, carnivores, omnivores and herbivores, have dichromatic vision with only 2 types of color receptors. Rabbits, whose retina is only sensitive to green and blue, can't see red light. Same thing with cattle. That's why the story of bulls enraged when they see a red drape is a bull. They are colorblind to red. And what does a famous plant-based documentary have to say about this? To prove that we are designed to eat only plants? A simple trick most people wouldn't even notice. That's why they use them. And they quickly add up. It's easier to memorize catchphrases than to look up facts. Until now. Get to the point! Where do you actually debunk the science? Oh! There is no science behind the claim that humans are herbivores. It's all made up. Just a sleight of hand. Let me explain. There's a scene in The Game Changers, probably the most shameless vegan propaganda film I've ever seen, where they put the skull of a dog next to a human skull, pointing out that the teeth of carnivores are shaped like scissor blades. You know, as a real gotcha moment. What they fail to mention that we don't have the special dental anatomy of herbivores either. For example, did you know that ruminant herbivores don't even have upper teeth in the front? Instead, they have a dental pad. Look! Do your teeth look like theirs? That still doesn't make you a herbivore. What about our jaws? After all, we're not like lions whose jaw hinges up and down to tear and rip their prey apart. What's up with classic herbivores? When they chew, they move their jaws sideways in a circular sliding motion and grind constantly like a millstone. Very different from what we do when we eat. Imagine eating a bowl of salad grinding side to side, copying the exact movements we see here. Some great vegan science deniers with their vast knowledge of anatomy believe it is possible.
Our teeth as well, in the way that our jaws work, is they move from side to side and they grind rather than tearing and ripping like a natural animal eater's does.
Now let's look at jaw structure. Like other herbivores, we can move our mouth side to side. Animals like your dog cannot do this.
If you see a proper omnivore, their jaw hinges up and down. Ours goes like this for grinding like a cow. You seen a cow eat?
This is what happens when you graduate from the PETA University. Check out when this deluded vegan YouTuber tries to demonstrate that humans eat like a cow. What happens the moment he really starts chewing his banana? Exactly. Nice self-debunking, mate. Let's go back to the kings of cherry picking for a moment. As you can see, humans don't have the deadly dental arsenal of a dog, but it's far from the grinding powerhouse of classic herbivores as well. Now, let's look at some teeth. Once, they belonged to professional plant eaters. Many herbivores have hypsodont teeth with large crowns and gravelled surfaces that grow continuously throughout the animal's life to compensate for the wear caused by the constant grinding. It's an adaptation for eating tough, fibrous plants. This is where the jaws sliding sideways come into the picture.
Our teeth are not designed for tearing through skin, tearing through an animal's thick hide. Our flat teeth are designed really for mashing up and grinding plants. So really there's no indication that we're carnivores.
Do you remember this image on the wall of your dentist's waiting room? This much shorter kind of tooth is called brachydont. Does it look like this to you? Not even close. These low crowns and rounded cusps are the most common in species that have a broad diet. Let's compare these three images from the anatomy of domestic animals. Which one do you think the human teeth are the closest to? That's right, pigs! In the research studying mastication, in other words the science of chewing, pigs are often used as a typical omnivorous model, as they eat pretty much everything, even human bodies. Animals with teeth like ours can crush and chew many kinds of food. Leaves, seeds, fruit, insects, eggs, shellfish, meat. This is what our closest relatives chimpanzees eat. Apart from our canines, which got smaller during our evolution, we have the same dental formula. The truth is, we are not specialized in eating tough, raw plants like classic herbivores or crushing bones like carnivores. Most foods we eat are made easier to chew by cooking anyway, though if I had to choose, I'd rather bite into a raw steak than a raw potato or a stack of hay. There's actually a guy on social media who does exactly this. Pretty cool.
So we catch animals with our hands and eat animals raw with our canines, rip through their flesh, yeah? Like a carnivore does, yeah? Like a carnivore does, yeah? Yeah.
Imagine you're stranded on an island. No pepperoni pizza with triple cheese to get you through the day, just good old Mother Nature. So, when you get hungry, you would face the same problem every living thing has to solve. What's for dinner? You could pick berries, or nibble on the less suspicious leaves or mushrooms for a while. You might even get lucky with some. But you're still hungry, and time is running out. So what's for dinner? Stone Age hunters could kill a woolly mammoth, which would be very hard for lions, the real pros of meat eating. Nothing to be ashamed of. We embraced one of the oldest solutions out there, without which we wouldn't have made it. We are literally at the top of the food chain, and by the time we got here, we had become the fastest, strongest, and most dangerous predator in the world. This is the truth. Hunting is part of nature, which can be achieved in many ways. Teeth, traps, venom, intelligence. The largest animal on Earth, the blue whale, is a carnivore, and they don't even have teeth but hundreds of blades that look like the bristles of a comb. You can use whatever tool evolution provided. Still not convinced? Then pay attention. This is important. Cows, cats and humans, like most higher animals, are built like a worm, like this guy, a nematode. It's a universal body plan, a tube within a tube which has an opening on one end for the input and another hole for waste extraction. Even our life goals are the same. Eat, reproduce and die. In the physical sense, we're just a fancy tube. But what's inside that tube makes a big difference when the stomach starts to rumble. Now, let's state the obvious. Different kinds of digestive systems require different kinds of food. For obligate carnivores, such as cats, the only food required to be healthy is meat. Simple as that. At the other end of the spectrum, we can find classic herbivores with a very complex digestive system adapted to thrive on the lowest quality food. They can pretty much survive by just grazing alone. Of course, we can sometimes see cats eating grass, but most of it ends up being thrown up. They do it to eliminate indigestible matter from their stomach. Fur, feather, bones. Carnivores haven't got any nutritional use for cellulose, the main structural element in the rigid cell walls of plants. Humans make great use of cellulose in paper production, insulation, or clothing, but as food, it's completely indigestible. Luckily, herbivorous animals have a very unique ability to get around this problem. For example, termites, the cows of the insect world, have an army of microorganisms living in their guts that will break down cellulose in the wood they eat. Bugs! One of the byproducts of the herbivore magic is methane, which leaves the party at the rear end of the tube. Yeah, termites fart. It's the same natural process cows get the blame for nowadays. But that's what makes a herbivore. Cows and other herbivores can break down grass, leaves and a massive amount of waste produced by industries such as beer making or plant-based milk production, turning inedible leftovers into something humans can eat. The ultimate garbage disposal. So ironically, the more oat milk you drink, the more you help animals become what they are bred for. Isn't it great? Thank you for your service!
What?
Why are you so obsessed with vegans? Don't you have better things to do? I'm not against all vegans, just the naughty ones. The day of reckoning has finally come. No more lies. But let's finish our story, shall we? So herbivores, unlike humans, are basically big containers, like the ones in your garden. After all, they need to store those rotting plants while the microbes do the dirty work. Based on the site where these tiny creatures live, there are two kinds of herbivores. The first group is called foregut fermenters. Ruminants, camelids, and some other species like sloths, kangaroos, columbine monkeys, also known as leaf-eating monkeys, the favorite prey of chimpanzees. They are the superheroes of the herbivore gang with many physiological adaptations to their natural diet. To begin with, they have big, often multi-chambered stomachs. These are basically fermentation vats working like a bioreactor, where the actual nutrition comes from the microbes feeding on cellulose and other plant fibers. It is these microorganisms that produce short-chain fatty acids, a kind of saturated fat, which are then absorbed by the animals as their main energy source, along with the bacteria, which are their major source of protein. These animals, in turn, are a major source of protein for other species who don't get so excited seeing this. But that's okay. It's the circle of life. There's one caveat though. These microorganisms need the right conditions to survive. The most important thing is the pH value of the stomach. It must be high. This keeps bacteria alive, because if they're dead, there is no herbivore magic. In the rumen of the cow, the first and largest stomach compartment where they ferment the plants, the pH is around 6.5. For the cow, it is crucial to maintain this high pH, so they produce up to 150 liters of alkaline saliva with a pH of 8.4 per day, with high sodium bicarbonate levels. It's the same antacid humans use to neutralize acid in the stomach and relieve heartburn. What about us? We have very strong hydrochloric acid in our stomach, which has an average pH less than 2. It's comparatively stronger to herbivores, but also many omnivores as well. Here's a fun fact. The human stomach acidity could be 100,000 times stronger than the pH of the cow's rumen. No need to panic, we're not herbivores. Of course, our friends from the Peter University didn't miss a good opportunity to be wrong about this too.
We also have very weak hydrochloric acid in our stomach.
Now for our digestive system, omnivore stomachs have a pH around 1, which is very acidic for dissolving bone, while we have a pH of 4 to 5 like other herbivores.
The hydrochloric acid in our stomach is comparatively weaker to carnivores, but also omnivores as well.
I wonder why vegan activists claim the opposite of what is true. Maybe this is what they want to believe? Who knows? I'm just glad that biology books are not written by these fanatics. That would be silly, right?
We also have very weak hydrochloric acid in our stomach. Weak hydrochloric acid. Very weak hydrochloric acid in our stomach.
But seriously, if these guys had any clue what they're talking about, they would know that weak acid would actually cause a bunch of problems. As you can see, the pH of an empty stomach is around 1, which goes up at the beginning of a meal as the food has a buffering effect, but it starts decreasing immediately, as in the presence of food more hydrochloric acid will be secreted, and for a good reason. This will not only kill most bacteria, but it's also necessary for activating pepsin, an enzyme that will break down protein. Pepsin is only active in acidic environment, with the maximum activity around pH 2. Low levels of hydrochloric acid is called hypochlorhydria, and it's actually a medical condition which impairs the digestion of protein as well as the absorption of B12 and several minerals. It would also allow bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, which is no fun at all, so I would really think twice before I wish I had a herbivorous stomach. But even herbivores will debunk the deluded vegan claims about stomach acidity. Let's see leaf monkeys, for example. Their stomach is divided into compartments. The part where the microbes live has a pH value between 5 and 7, which drops to 2.4 when it reaches the acidic region of the stomach. Same goes for cows. By the time the food reaches their last stomach compartment, the true stomach of the cow, the pH value drastically goes down. This is where the protein from the microbes and other nutrients are digested by the herbivore. That's why the bottom part of their stomach is acidic, similarly to the stomach of humans and dogs. The big difference is how these nutrients get there. Animals that extract nutrients directly from the food are called autoenzymatic digesters. This is what happens in species with high-quality diets. When we eat a steak with mashed potatoes, most of the food will be digested by enzymes in the stomach, then further digested and absorbed in the small intestine. On the other hand, herbivores outsource a big part of this process to a middleman, the mighty microbes. It's simply a different design. Looks like this bit of information was somehow left out from the Game Changers when Patrick the vegan strongman came up with a nice catchphrase to make you believe that humans are similar to an ox. And now I have to spend so much time explaining why we are not. This is called Brandolini's law, also known as the bullshit asymmetry principle, which says that the amount of energy needed to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than that needed to produce it. An uphill battle we have to fight all the time when dealing with fake news. You know that Wikipedia is not always reliable? Even they say so. You cannot really trust a Google search either. Documentaries don't necessarily tell you the truth. Social media never represented reality. This makes information the most powerful weapon in the world. Now, let's see how we compare to the other kind of herbivores. These animals, just like humans, have only one stomach. Does it mean we're one of them? Not at all. Unlike us, the large intestine of hindgut fermenters is big enough to serve the same purpose as the multi-chambered stomach of foregut fermenters. What we can see here is the entry point of the large intestine, the cecum. In humans, it's so tiny that it has no function in fermentation at all. The only place left for the herbivore magic is the colon. But compared to these animals, humans have a limited capacity to ferment plants.
Our digestive systems are much, much longer compared to the short tract of the digestive system of a carnivore. So we are definitely not designed to eat animal foods.
Here we go again. Lions. This joke never gets old, does it? The truth is that even chimpanzees who are omnivores have different guts than us, because 90% of their diet comes from plants, which means a lot of fiber to ferment. So they have a bigger cecum and colon. In contrast, humans have the most volume in the small intestine, which is 4 times longer than the colon. And if you look at gorillas, who have an enlarged hindgut compared to chimpanzees, the difference is even more obvious. But let's say you manage to chew down what's on the menu for these guys, and believe me, it's not for the faint-hearted. You wouldn't get very far with this diet, as humans simply lack the most important anatomical adaptations to be a herbivore. Gorillas have a functioning cecum, humans don't. Gorillas have the biggest colon among these great apes. Humans have the smallest. We can ferment a little bit of fiber, but less than pigs and not much more than dogs. What else is left to say? Here's one for the road. No sane biologist would say that humans are herbivores. Then why did these famous vegan influencers and documentaries say that we are? What? I hate you, Ryan. Even the Vegan Society, who literally created the word vegan and started the whole thing, says it's not true. It's a lie. A damn lie.
Like a carnivore does, yeah? Like a carnivore does, yeah? Yeah.
We are classic herbivores by design.
Yeah. We can survive on a plant-based diet, eating the foods that come natural to us. Eating the foods our body was designed to eat.
Like other herbivores.
Grinding like a cow. You seen a cow eat?